Welcome back to the Pesky Report. This is episode 523 of the Pesky Report, brought to you by Beyond the Monster. My name is Derek. I'm here with Jake and Hunter for your minor league show, and we once again have another special guest joining us. This time, it's Red Sox 2025 draft pick Anthony Eyanson. Anthony, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you guys for having me. It means a lot.
We're very excited to have you. As is tradition here, I will be handing it off to Jake. Jake, the floor is yours for the first question.
Thanks, Derek. And Anthony, thank you again so much for taking time out to chat with us. We appreciate it. I believe you're now the third member of the draft class that we've had a chance to chat with. So that's great. We talked to Marcus Phillips and Maximus Martin.
Sure.
So first off, I'll ask you, it sounds like you're back in California, which is your home state, I believe. And how did your first few months as a member of the Red Sox organization go? Obviously, I'm sure that it was a lot to take in over a couple months, but how do you feel like how has your time with the Red Sox gone so far since you were drafted back in July?
Yeah, I mean, it's gone great. Obviously, it's so fun to be able to, be in the weight room and play baseball for your job. I had to get used to that a little bit, but I mean, it's everything that I've ever dreamed of, honestly. I say that a lot, but I really mean that. Like, being within the Red Sox organization and, just meeting everybody, meeting the trainers, meeting the players, I've never met these guys a day in my life, and the first time you meet them, it feels like they're family. So I think just everything that the Red Sox are about, fits my personality and who I am. So it feels like a perfect match for sure.
And just in terms of specifics, like obviously, as was the case with I think maybe just one or two pitchers from this draft class, everybody kind of was assigned to the complex in Fort Myers and didn't go and pitch for an affiliate. Like, can you tell us a little bit about what were some of maybe the specific things that you were working on while you were there? What were some of the things that they wanted you to try to do? Were you, because I know we talked to Marcus Phillips and he was like shut down from throwing. Were you continuing to throw, or how did that go for you?
Yeah, so I was throwing, my throwing was very monitored and very limited, just for the innings that I have thrown last year. I think the main focus for me was just to get stronger, put more weight on, stay mobile, throw harder, and just focus on my fastball and the shape and everything. Want more swing and miss. My breaking balls are, my best. I think my best pitches right now, and I think just tweaking the fastball a little bit, getting that where I want it to be, and working on the splitter as well. I think that's mainly what we've been working on there. So it's been going pretty good.
Hunter, go ahead.
Was there anyone at the facility, player, coach, veteran, former player, anyone that stuck out to you as someone that you feel really helped you in your process so far?
As of right now, no. I mean, it's been just such a short amount of time, and I'm just really trying to, focus on what I need to do to be the best that I can be. And I think definitely just talking to, all the first year draft guys, all the pitchers, just sharing, what we learned at our programs, what we're trying to accomplish. I think it's fun picking each other's brains.
And then I think when we talked to Marcus Phillips, I'm pretty sure you were part of the group. It was you, him, and Kaisan Witherspoon that went to Fenway Park, right?
Yeah.
What was that experience like? Was that your first time in Boston? And how did you like the city?
Yeah, that was my first time in Boston. I'm very excited to get back there because I really loved it there. Like for me, when I visited LSU, I knew that it was a place for me. Just I got a certain feeling in my heart, and I knew that that's what I wanted to do, and I got that same exact feeling at Fenway. It's just like weird park, but like it's just something that you fall in love with right away, and I think that I definitely loved being there for sure.
I don't know how many days you spent in the city, but did you get to do anything outside of going to Fenway? Like, did you try to see anything, do any tours, just go to a restaurant or something? Was there anything that like stood out to you?
We went to a restaurant that wasn't too far away from the actual stadium, but we were limited days there, so we didn't really get to explore a lot. But once I'll be exploring for sure.
I do want to ask, you mentioned kind of the pitchers that you were with, and obviously it was a very pitcher-heavy draft for the Red Sox, and it has been the last couple of years. What is it like when you kind of get into the organization and you can pick the brains of other guys, like you mentioned, coming from other schools, and you get everyone kind of coming together with the Red Sox and the team giving you a certain goal or certain goals between for yourself, but also the group as a whole? What is that kind of experience like, getting to just kind of pick everyone's brains?
Yeah, it's really fun. Like you always wonder about how certain programs do certain things as far as like college, and being able to fully understand what they were trying to develop with their guys. It could be another SEC school or a school that you've probably never heard of, but they could be doing the same exact thing and not even like realize that. So I think it's just really cool, and it's really good from my perspective to understand that it's just really the hard work that's the separator.
Right, and then you started your college career at UC San Diego. You did switch to LSU. What was it, which for your junior year, which is this past year? What was kind of the difference in kind of going to LSU in terms of your development? Was there anything that you feel like you really took a step forward with in your junior year?
Yeah, I think I definitely learned. I mean, I would just say I learned how to be myself on the field. At UC San Diego, I knew that I had the talent to be a good ball player, but didn't really have an identity at the time. And it's hard to go into a place like LSU without an identity. So that's something that you want to figure out right away. And that's honestly what I strive to understand and just attain at LSU. And I think once I figured out who I was on the mound, I kind of skyrocketed with development and everything.
So you mentioned that this was your first time in Boston. However, you have experience in Massachusetts. You did play for Katuitt on the Cape last
Sure.
year. And can you tell us about that experience? Because you did you did very strongly there, and then and then you end up transferring to LSU. But tell us about your experience on the Cape.
Yeah, it was great. It was very short. It was about 5 days, but felt like 3 weeks, which is good. I had a great host family. They blessed me and my roommates with lobster rolls after every game. So, right away I fell in love with that. But honestly, just like on the West Coast, you don't really experience any summer league like that where there's actually fans that are really engaged with the game, and it's like the best of the best, literally at the college level. So it was just really exciting. Kind of opened my eyes, what the SEC and that part of the baseball world would look like, and I think it helped prepare me for LSU as well.
And what was the sort of, being a California guy and being in college at California, what was it that kind of drew you to wanting to be specifically at LSU?
Yeah, I would definitely say, at Team USA, talking to some of the SEC guys there, just hearing about their lifestyle and, how much they are able to prioritize baseball, while doing schoolwork and balancing that, being a student full time. I think it made a lot of sense for, what I was trying to do in my future with baseball, for my decision. And, that's why I took initiative to transfer.
We've talked a little bit about your time at LSU. Obviously, you guys won the championship in 2025. Big run. Can you just go over the entire process of the College World Series run? Like what was the biggest moment for you outside of the winning of the championship? Obviously, like was there a moment that stood out to you as special?
Yeah, I definitely got to go with the LSU Arkansas game. The second time we played, that was the game to, if we won, we go to the championship, and if they won, then they had to play us again. It was the bottom of the ninth. Freshman pinch hitter struck out. We had one out. I was just in the bullpen, just like praying, like, please God, let us win. And we ended up winning the game on the walk-off hit from Bear, and just kind of hearing, Coach Johnson, like usually he gives us a really good speech about, how he played and everything, but he just looked at us and said, man, I love this team and I love you guys. And like, you guys just please never change because this group is special. And to me right there, I feel like that's when we won it all. I don't know. That was just really special to me, and I'll never forget that moment.
And you had a big moment yourself in the College World Series. Did you feel extra pressure in those games, or was it just kind of, obviously you went to a massive college, a massive baseball school. There were a lot of big games for you guys. Did it just kind of feel like another day at the ballpark for you?
Yeah, I mean, it honestly did just feel like another game. I wasn't going to let myself get too worked up because obviously it's the same game that I've been playing for my whole life. I thought it would be harder to, be calm about this game the night before and the day of. But honestly, I was just prepared. I knew that in the end, the only person I had to be on the mound was myself, and I knew I was going to compete, so I didn't really stress too much about it.
And then LSU, massive names recently, obviously you this year, Kate Anderson this year, Paul Skeens very recently. Did you notice like a big pitching culture at LSU? Like, was that something when you were going there, when they were recruiting you, was that like a big sales pitch for them? Was like, hey, look at who we've produced in recent years.
Yeah, for sure. They definitely told me about, the development with the pitchers, and that was something that I love to see, especially in um Coach Johnson was specifically talking about California guys that transfer for 1 year, which, that was my exact situation. And it was pretty surprising to me, the list of guys and how well they're doing now. And I think that's something that I definitely considered.
In terms of your time at LSU, obviously winning the national championship is, very big accomplishment. We've talked here on the minor league show about how important having a winning culture is, even in the minor leagues. Being in a winning culture in college, though, is one thing that, do you think that's something you can kind of carry over into your professional career, where you've been with a team that won a championship, now you're coming into the minor leagues where, yes, the focus is your development, but at the same time, do you think you have advantages coming from a winning culture?
Yeah, definitely. I love that win or die environment. That's something that I feel like I thrive in, and it's no coincidence coming from LSU. One of the biggest win or die cultures in college. Amongst all sports, and now being in Boston, where it's just amplified even more. So I think just having that experience, playing at LSU is definitely preparing me for what's to come in Boston.
So let's talk about the draft process a little bit. So you you come into the draft, and I think that, as people like us, we pay attention to all of the sort of pre-draft rankings and stuff like that, and your name definitely was intriguing just from the standpoint of, hey, like, the Red Sox are really focused on trying to draft more pitching and get more guys in. And then draft day comes, and I think that the consensus is that maybe you were rated a bit higher than where you actually kind of ended up getting drafted. But I just want to know, from your standpoint, um, were you kind of surprised at where you ended up where you ended up landing in terms of where you were drafted, like the number, the pick 87, or did you kind of just try to go into it like, I'm going to go wherever I'm going to go, chips will fall where they may? Like, what was your kind of expectation and attitude?
Yeah, so I remember having, 1,000 different thoughts at once. I had a conversation with my family, and they pretty much said, at the end of the day, God is going to, have a plan for you, and whatever happens is supposed to happen. I would see some of them, my friends would send me them on Instagram, just like some of the rankings and stuff. And I didn't really pay too much attention to that. Like I said, I just knew that, God was going to take care of it, and I didn't really want to stress over it too much. But yeah, I would say I feel a little just disappointed in how it all went about. But I mean, at the end of the day, the playing field now is level.
So, and as far as the Red Sox go, in terms of the pre-draft process and stuff like that, what was your sort of amount of interaction with the Red Sox? Like, did you know that they had interest in you? And maybe without mentioning other teams, like, were they one of the teams that you were kind of expecting would maybe take you, and were there maybe like other teams that you thought were interested too? Just where did that land before
Yeah.
the draft?
So just with the information that I was given, I didn't really expect them to reach out. Obviously, I'm very glad that they did because I love it. with them. But I didn't really know what to expect. Like I said earlier, I was hearing a bunch of different things. Didn't know what to expect because literally it's a huge difference in your life being from one team to another in the minutes of a phone call. So definitely didn't have an idea of, the Red Sox for sure, but I'm definitely glad that they took the opportunity.
And so when you were drafted by them, and then eventually you do sign and you become part of the organization. Like, what were some of the kind of initial things that they told you? Like, what were the things in terms of like, hey, this is what we like about you, but like this is what we kind of want you to work on. You already mentioned kind of the fastball a little bit, but like what were those initial sort of conversations like with the team?
Yeah, I would definitely say just like getting bigger was one of the biggest things. Like they're like, we were at Fenway and they were just telling us like, we want you to look like those guys. And he was pointing out like Jaron Duran and Chapman, all those big dudes. But that's definitely the main
That's a lot
focus.
of pressure to live up to. Both of those guys, man, they're
Yeah, I know they're huge, but that was definitely, something that they put on me. They just said, we want you to be as strong as you can while still moving well. Work on the fastball, and I think that's what's going to take you to the person that we believe you can be.
So most of your time at LSU, you were a starting pitcher. You made 2 appearances out of the bullpen your senior year or your junior year. But we've seen it recently with the Red Sox. We saw it we're seeing it right now with Peyton Tolley. We've seen it with guys in the minors like David Sandlin. They convert him to a bullpen role. It doesn't seem like they're long-term plans, but it's more just like, hey, we need these guys for a playoff push. So for now, they're going to work out of the bullpen. So let's fast forward to, next September or September 2026, whatever it is. Red Sox need you out of the bullpen in September. What is your walk-up song?
Walk-up song. Oh man. Man, I haven't thought this far. I definitely I like mine from last year, but I don't know if I could reuse it. It was Marnie on Me by Future and Lil Uzi. Just got me excited. I got the nickname Marnie from my teammates after using that. Um, man, that's tough. I might have to just, reuse Marnie on Me.
If it worked for you.
Yeah, right. It definitely worked for us. So might have to just go with that.
You spent 2 days, right? The draft came, I believe it was the second day. Yeah, day 2. So you spent like that 1 day between the first round and the second round. And obviously you kind of touched on this already with Jake with just your feelings of the whole situation and everything. But how aggressive were the Red Sox with you leading up to that? Like in that short span between the second round and the third round, like how aggressive did those talks become of like, holy hell, this guy's still available. And he, just pitched in the College World Series. He had this fantastic year. He's a highly touted prospect. Like, did you feel the urgency from the Red Sox in there's a chance to get him? Obviously, they had signed, or I guess they hadn't signed him yet, but they had drafted Marcus Phillips with the intention of going under slot so that they could spend more money later on in the draft. Like, was that something they talked about with you? Like, hey, we have this extra money.
Yeah, I didn't really have a lot of conversations about money. I knew that, God was going to reward me with whatever amount I got. But yeah, I definitely did feel, them urging, to get me on board. It was honestly a pretty easy decision for me. Try to keep it between the lines. There was another team that wanted me to wait, a couple more picks, so they could, close in on that. And then the Red Sox were like, we want this guy right here. And that, obviously, if you see a team that wants you right away and they're not hesitating compared to one that's trying to, push you a little, and then, they want you, it definitely shows you where their priorities are at. So, yeah, it was an easy decision for me.
In terms of kind of joining the Red Sox organization, so Red Sox organization that has really, it feels like, at least from the outside perspective, it feels like the pitching development has been totally revolutionized under Craig Breslow, and just the entire organization as a whole, top down. When obviously you mentioned working on the fastball, Obviously, you have yet to pitch in affiliated ball. But is there any specific things that this offseason that they've maybe gone and looked at you outside of the fastball and said, we really like this, keep doing this, or let's maybe tweak this a little bit, or even if it's just saying, like I said, we really like this pitch, or we really like this thing that you do, and just keep getting better at that.
Yeah, I would just say the conversations haven't gotten that far yet. Just with the short amount of time being in Fort Myers and the season still going, I definitely think that this time that I spend back at Fort Myers and in a month, and spring training is where I'll have those conversations about we think you're doing this really well. We think you can do this to help this. So I definitely think that those conversations will start to come a little bit more.
And then just kind of continue on somewhat on that topic, in terms of joining the organization. You've been around a little bit, like we mentioned, UC San Diego, LSU. You played in the Cape Cod League. You kind of been around a little bit, in a good way, right? You've had different experiences. I always like to ask, kind of just in terms of culture coming in, baseball kind of being this melting pot of people from all different places. You obviously being from California, the Red Sox love some California kids. It's been kind of a running joke with us that we've made sometimes. But California kid, you had a year in Louisiana. You obviously played in the Cape Cod League. Do you feel those different experiences are going to help you in terms of moving into pro baseball and having people that are from, all over the country and all over the world as your teammates?
Yeah, for sure. I think that the travel and just the experience nationwide with baseball has just helped me become more compatible with teammates and just adapting to environments that you're playing in. We played in Oklahoma where it was 30 degrees and I was freezing with the dugout jacket on, standing next to a heater, and then pitching in Louisiana where I'm trying to use every rosin bag in the stadium, trying to get a grip on the ball. So I would say that definitely helps me, and just the way I go about my business, just understanding that at the end of the day, all it is execution.
Just fair warning, whenever you get up to Portland in AA, if you're starting the season in Portland, good luck. You might have some snow games. Just a fair warning. Portland has a history of getting, I think earlier this year, I think like almost every weekend game for the first 3 weeks got rained or snowed out. So just a heads up there.
I had my fair share of rain delays at Louisiana.
Yeah, you'll get interesting weather kind of just about any stop in the Red Sox organization, save for probably Greenville, South Carolina, where it's South Carolina weather, but it's gets chilly pretty much all the other places, including in Salem, Virginia. So this is a safe space here, so you can be honest. So you're from Southern California. Can you tell us like who some of your favorite teams are?
Okay. We got to go with the Lakers.
Okay,
that's easy.
That's right.
Easy. Lakers over Clippers for sure. Just always been the more superior team in my eyes. Football, I would definitely say, I don't know, man. That's tough. My dad was a big Steelers fan, and he still is ever since he saw the Immaculate Reception. He's been in love with the Steelers. So I kind of picked that up at a young age. Yeah, those are my main teams, though. Honestly, I'm not. My favorite team, baseball-wise, is the Red Sox now. Obviously, that's what I'm all about. But I would definitely grow up, watching Dodger games, Angel games, Padres games. It's just Southern California games.
So in terms of players, because one thing that's interesting was I was looking that in high school, especially like your senior year, you hit 472. So you obviously had a hitting background too. Was it kind of as a youth, were you kind of always more focused on you wanted to be a pitcher, or was there a possibility? I'm curious what position you played as a position player, but how did it kind of end up being that you ended up becoming more of like a full-time pitcher?
Yeah. My goal in my head is funny. I wanted to be a football player. I wanted to play in the NFL. Ever since a young age, I grew up around Long Beach Poly football. So I've always wanted to be a football player. I had to fight myself to hang up the football cleats and get to the diamond. But I remember getting to high school and telling my dad, man, I can't wait. I can't wait till season starts so I don't have to pitch anymore and I can play center field. And he started laughing. He was like, that's not going to happen. I don't know. I've always been just better at pitching. obviously I like playing outfield, diving catches, throwing people out is fun. But just realized, my dominance in pitching, had to make a decision from there, and that's how it happened.
And as far as, I guess we can extend it to all different sports. Like, I always like to ask the question of like, who are athletes that you looked up to like growing up? And it maybe isn't necessarily just baseball, but I am curious like about that in terms of like athletes that you tried to maybe that you idolize, you tried to model yourself after. But then like specifically, I am curious about if there are pitchers that you felt like you tried to model your style, your game after.
Yeah, I would definitely say pitchers. I would say Pedro Martinez and Marcus Stroman, just guys, that looked more like me, and use that. They're not big guys, don't look overpowering, but when you're in the box, you're like, dang, this is going to be a tough at bat. So definitely that. I would say my favorite athlete of all time, though, is for sure Ocho Cinco, Chad Johnson. He's, I mean,
Wow.
you're.
I was not expecting that to be the name that you were going to say.
Yeah, he's just like you're just never bored watching him play. Like he would order Pepto Bismol to the locker room of the other team before the game. Like you're playing and you're like, dang, we got to deal with this dude again. Like it's just the way he went about about his job and his career and playing was really fascinating to watch.
But Patriots legend, obviously. I would say that in Boston, play up like Pedro being one of your favorites, and maybe kind of de-emphasize the Lakers stuff. That's just my opinion.
For sure. Thank you.
I'm a Commanders fan, so I have vivid nightmares of the one year Ocho Cinco had a list of every cornerback he was going up against, and then he would like cross him off when he put up 150 yards. And the Commanders were so bad, and their top cornerback at the time was Fred Smoot. And I was like, shit, this is going to go so poorly. This is going to be like 19 receptions for 400 yards. But yeah, I'm interested in pregame process for you. Like, do you have a specific pregame routine, a pregame playlist, a pregame like meal that you have to have every time? Because I know baseball players in general, but especially pitchers, tend to be creatures of habit. And I'm always interested. Sometimes it's like it starts the night before, or sometimes it's I have to wake up at this exact time, and then I do this, that, and the other thing. And then there's pitchers we've talked to where they're just like, I get to the ballpark and whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, I would definitely say I'm in the middle in between both of those. Like I'm not gonna freak out if I don't do the exact same thing. But I like to keep a good routine for myself. Um, yeah, not anything crazy. I would usually just eat whatever they had at the field. I would eat less but drink more water. Just wouldn't be as hungry on game days. But after the game, I'm like crushing as much food as I can. Yeah, I'm not gonna say I had any like specific like rituals or routines. I would have a pregame playlist just of like more hype music, upbeat, up tempo, just to get me in that that mindset, ready to go.
We had my sophomore year of high school. My boy would drive us to the games for basketball, and every single day he played Steady Mobbin'. Lil Wayne every single day, to the point where even when I got into college, if I had like a rec league basketball game or a rec league baseball game or whatever, I was like, well, I have to listen to that. It just got so ingrained in my brain.
Yeah.
So I'm always interested in what people are doing, like pregame. So obviously you said like there's not too much going on like specifics. So are you not what's the word? Are you not like a superstitious baseball player? There's not like a skipping over the line, going in onto the field. Like you can't step on the foul line. There's none of that for you.
Oh yeah, I for sure will never step on the line. That's something that just respecting the game and the unwritten rules. Yeah, I mean, obviously like stuff like that, unwritten rules I follow, but it's just like some guys are like, I have to put this cleat on before I put this one on, and like, I don't know that if that helps them. I'll put my cleats on. I'm not thinking about which foot first, but definitely like if something doesn't feel right and I gotta like re-put something on, I'll do that for sure just to feel good.
Well, they say look good, feel good, play good. So
Yeah,
you gotta feel good. On the on just kind of I guess like I don't know how to word this. we'll kind of go back to the pitch mix a little bit. I always ask the question to people we have on the show who are pitchers in the Red Sox system. I always ask, what's like a pitch from someone else in the system that you would love to steal and add to your arsenal? Obviously, you haven't been in the system a super long time, so we'll kind of broaden it up a little bit. It could be a college teammate. It could be, or even if there's a big league pitcher who you feel there's a pitch that would really, would really work well with your pitch arsenal. Is there a pitch from a certain pitcher that you would just love to add into your arsenal?
Yeah. Man, that's a really tough question.
You can name more than one if you want.
Yeah, I would definitely say like some of the fastballs, obviously like Chapman fastball. Even watching Tully throw his fastball on his debut, I was like, man. Guys like that, Mason Miller with the just electric fastball, Johan Duran. Definitely one of those pitches for sure. I think that would, just help me and, the mix that I have for sure.
Also, who doesn't love to throw? Who wouldn't love to throw 100? I mean, come on.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's every kid's dream.
Yeah.
So,
Yes,
yeah, on that topic, like I think one of the things that the Red Sox have become pretty known for since the new sort of front office took over before the start of the 2024 season is that they've really put an emphasis on building velocity and with pitchers, because that was a problem in the Red Sox system before. There were just they're very rare that anybody in the system would throw 100 miles an hour. I don't know what the number is now, but but this year there's been probably 7 or 8 probably that have at least gotten close. And you, according to your scouting report, you topped out at 97.7 this past year, your junior year at LSU, and they have you kind of your fastball kind of sitting in the 92, 94 range. I think you look at a guy like Peyton Tolley, who was even throwing not as hard as that, even was kind of averaging more like 90, 91 in college. And he's come out this year and he's, gotten up to 98, 99 through the Red Sox programs and stuff like that. From what you kind of understand, is the hope for you that the Red Sox are hoping that you can kind of do something similar where you are sort of sitting that 92, 94 range in your fastball, but they kind of, and that top out of almost 98, that's kind of, they want you to kind of live up there. Is that kind of your understanding?
Yeah, for sure. Just having all that velocity, it gives you a bigger margin for error. So definitely throwing harder and being able to maintain that throughout the season is something that we've been discussing. Like you said, who doesn't want to throw hard? Who doesn't want to throw 100? Makes life a lot easier. So yeah, that's definitely something that I have an emphasis on.
And I think that maybe coming into being with the Red Sox organization, you're kind of your slider, your curveball, kind of maybe even more so of your calling cards type pitches. Do you kind of view those as being things also that you want to try to work on? Is there maybe one particular kind of breaking ball that you either like to throw more or you think is more effective? Like where are you kind of on in that area at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, just from the results in college, I think my slider is something that's definitely helped me. Just get a lot of swing and miss. So I definitely think just throwing that harder in general and keeping the shape really small is something that I'm gonna try to do. I would say with my curveball, just throwing it more in the zone, throwing everything more in the zone, honestly. And honestly, just using my splitter a little bit more. I think I can get more swing and miss on that just by having it competitive for hitters. So definitely, I feel like I can work on pretty much every pitch in my arsenal and continue to make them better.
Obviously, it's a little bit away. We're not even at the end of this season technically. But next year, you'll likely start in high A with the Greenville Drive. Being a college pitcher, I wouldn't be shocked if they have you skip over the Salem Red Sox or Salem whatever. I guess they won't be the Red Sox next year. But is there a specific goal you have for next year? Obviously, it's far away, so you might not be thinking about that at the moment. But like, is there an innings number you want to hit or a certain amount of strikeouts, limit the walks, get to a different level? Like maybe you want to end next year already in AAA or whatever it is. Is there something that you're already kind of locking in on as a specific 2026 goal?
Yeah, I have one goal in mind, or actually two. I would definitely say get to Fenway as fast as possible and help the Boston Red Sox win in Fenway. Those are my two goals. I'm not a guy that likes to set a lot of goals just because I don't want to limit myself at all to what I'm capable of. So, I always just push, as hard as I can in everything that I do. And I would just say, yeah, those are my two goals.
You mentioned watching Peyton Toley's debut. Since getting drafted, have you watched a lot of Red Sox baseball? Is it like a conscious effort to watch more Red Sox baseball, or are you kind of just locked in on what you're doing and I'm at the facilities working out and now I'm back home doing this, that, and the other thing? Are you trying to watch a lot of Red Sox baseball, or are you more just head down, do what I have to do to get there?
Yeah, I definitely, head down, do what I have to do to get there before I watch them. But I'm definitely studying, pitchers, hitters, how the team responds to adversity, how pitchers use what they're good at to their advantage. Why is there certain guys in at this moment? Just little things like that goes into, the strategy and winning. And that's something that I pay a lot of attention to because, if I want to be there, I have to know how they operate.
And we've talked a little bit about like your connection with the team, like meeting players, meeting people in the facilities. Uh, have you had any experiences with Red Sox fans yet? Whether it's just people seeing you at Fenway when you were there, or people on social media or anything. Have you had a hopefully positive experience with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's been positive. Most of the people that recognize me were LSU Red Sox fans. I didn't even know how many of those there are, but now I do. But yeah, I would say that's pretty much the run-ins that I've had with fans. Just been a lot of LSU Red Sox guys, and they've all been positive.
I do want to ask, in terms of LSU, you kind of formed a dynamic 1-2 punch with Cade Anderson last year. Is there anything throughout the year that you were really able to kind of pick up from him? I know he's a lefty, different pitcher, obviously, with him being a lefty. But was there ever anything with him kind of being the Friday night starter, you being the Saturday night starter, where he goes out on a Friday night, pitches against his team, and you can kind of take something away from that and kind of use in your start, or just kind of being able to pick each other's brains even?
Yeah, it's a good question. I would say the biggest thing I learned from him was just to treat the game how you treat practice. I would watch him throw bullpens and he'd be max intent, just exact same as the game. And that's just how he operates. He operates at one speed and that's full speed. And just seeing that, just realizing that I don't have to try to do too much in the game, or I don't have to try to, really put, all my strength to this pitch. Just do what you've been doing this whole time because it's what's going to get you better. And I think, he helped me in my game for sure by, teaching me that lesson.
And then just my last question in terms of your LSU time, I am curious, what kind of stuff did LSU have in terms of baseball analytics and that kind of stuff? Because everyone kind of talks analytics as a buzzword, right? We had a couple years ago, we had Christopher Troy on, and he kind of really went into stuff that the Red Sox have, which shout out to TT, actually, friend of the show. But what kind of stuff was used at LSU? Obviously, LSU being a bigger SEC school, it seems like the Red Sox have taken a lot of SEC pitchers. Is there anything at LSU in terms of on the pitching side of things, whether it was analytics department or just even something simple as scouting reports on the other team and having detailed scouting reports? What kind of stuff did you have at LSU that you were able to kind of use to your disposal?
Yeah, obviously we have TrackMan and the Edgertronics, so you're able to see the slow-mo of your release. I would say I would give a lot of credit to those two things. Helped me learn more about myself and my pitches, which helped me perform on the field. Another one was just scouting reports. So they would print out scouting reports if other team was getting prepared to face me, and I think just seeing that, putting myself in the hitter's eyes against myself is something I've never done before. So I think doing that just opened my eyes, how hitters try to hit off me in general, and I think they gave me a way better understanding of what makes my pitches difficult.
So now, you've kind of gotten through the this first few months with the Red Sox organization, and now you're back in California. Can you tell us a little bit about kind of what your day to day is like right now in terms of the off season and kind of what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish, and what is kind of a typical day for you, trying to mixing in work with like trying to relax a little bit and spend time with people. Let us know kind of what this off season looks like for you.
Yeah, wake up early in the morning, get my stuff done baseball wise. I always, joke with my parents, I'm about to go to work, and they're like, yeah, like get out of here. But yeah, definitely get the work done early in the morning, have the rest of the day, just free, chill, try to rest, try to get a lot of sleep, hydrate, eat. And then as far as like spending time with family, friends, people that I haven't really been able to see, and honestly, since like my sophomore year of college, really. So I think just, balancing all those things is what my day to day looks like.
And in terms of like, I'm curious, always curious about this because there's a lot of physical work that you have to do, of course, and there's physical work that you have to do, and then there's also like mental work that you have to do, right? So can you tell us a little bit about like from a mental skill standpoint, what are maybe some of the things that they've tried to have you focus on a little bit? Like, is there off-season work with that too? Just I'm always curious about what they try to tell you.
Yeah, they had introduced that a little bit. I think that's another thing that'll be introduced more as, we get back within, um, have more conversations about, your mental perspective and approach to the game. I think for me, just understanding, people operate best with a clear and fluid mind. That's something that, I try to hammer down, just have as clear as of mind as possible. Obviously, you don't want to be distracted or anything going into games or going into catch play, or it's just not going to, be the best work that you can put in.
Going back to your kind of like you were saying how you try to hang out with people maybe that you haven't really seen since your sophomore year. What does a day, not counting baseball activities, what does a day look like for you? Like what are your activities that you like to do? What are things you like to do when you're hanging out with friends or family? What are things you like to do when you're alone? Is it go shoot hoops, go see a movie, whatever it is?
Yeah, it could be any of those things. I love the movie theater actually, especially around this time. I love scary movies, so have to get one of those in for sure. I used to play basketball. I can't anymore. I kind of, I for sure stopped in
Yeah, that'd be a bad
college.
look if you
Yeah,
get hurt playing
yeah,
basketball.
prioritizing baseball and rest and recovery and all those things. I would definitely say I like just to eat. I love to eat, so I'll probably go get food with some of my friends. Um, Honestly, other than that, just hang out at the house, hang out at my house, chill, play the game, watch YouTube, just hang out. For me, it's just being in the presence of, those people.
All right, so you mentioned two things that I need to ask about now. One, favorite horror movie,
Okay.
and two, favorite food or like restaurant, fast food type, but whatever it is. Favorite food.
Okay. Horror movie, man. I would say you ask me these hard questions. I would
They're
say
very
The
hard hitting, yeah.
Call. It's called The Call with Holly Berry. I wouldn't say it's horror, but more so just like suspense.
Suspense, yeah.
She's a 911 operator. Um, the first thing, one of the calls she gets, like haunts her for life because she doesn't end up saving the person. And then she gets a call. It's the same guy from before, and she goes, does everything she can to take him down. I think it's a really cool storyline. And what was your second question?
Favorite food, restaurant, whatever it is.
Okay, favorite food, man. I love pasta, like any type of pasta. That's right up my alley for sure. I love Alfredo. Um, I've been begging my mom to make chicken Alfredo lasagna rolls. So I think that'll be my favorite food when she actually tries to do that.
So then is there like I don't even want to say fast food, but like, I don't know if you guys have Wawa where you are, but like Wawa or I'm trying to think of, I don't know why I'm blanking on Steak and Shake, In and Out, whatever it is. Is there a place
Okay.
that you're like constantly hitting up?
Um, yeah, I would say we have Raising Cane's back home. That's a place that I love. We have In and Out as well, and when I'm back at home, I crush In and Out a lot.
And then I'm curious what you would want Red Sox fans to know about you the person, not like when I'm on the field, I give it 100%, but just like Anthony Eyanson, the person.
Yeah. I'm just a normal guy for real. Like, I like to hang out. I like to spend time with my family. I like to chill. I've just been blessed with the ability to play baseball and, match my work ethic with that ability. But other than that, I'm a really approachable guy. I'm chill. Like, there's not much to me. I'm not arrogant or, you know, out of my own head, just thinking, that like all my success is because of me. Like, I'm just really humble. I take a lot of pride in that, and just really approachable.
My last question I have, I don't think we've actually asked this to anyone. I'm shocked that I haven't asked this because I know I haven't. Are you excited to potentially get the chance to play as yourself in like MLB The Show or baseball video games?
Yeah, I mean, I just got my real 99 card not too long ago. Yeah, it sucks throwing like 90, 94 on that game because it's hard, hard to get past that. But I think just seeing, yourself in the game is something that like you literally dream about as a kid. Like, you're playing the game and you're like, man, I want this to be me one day. So it's definitely a dreams to reality moment for sure.
Did they give you the proper pitch mix? Because I think it was like David Sandlin or someone had posted on Twitter. He was mad because he throws like 99 and they gave him like a 91 mile an hour fastball. So did they give you your proper pitch mix?
Yeah, I have a changeup instead of a splitter. I feel like in the game that's better. It's harder to hit a changeup than a splitter in the game. So
I always give up homers on splitters. So I agree.
Yeah, I'm not gonna complain about that. I don't know. I just throw slow in the game.
That is like if you're playing against someone in Diamond Dynasty, if you don't have a pitcher throwing 100, you're food.
Yeah, they're gonna hit it. Yeah,
unless it's Matt Waldron. That's you use Matt Waldron, you're a bum. I'm sorry.
Yeah, right. Holby Milner.
Oh,
it's just submarine low nines, even upper eights, and
there was a big meme of him going around like on the game because someone hit a line drive back at him and it like knocked him out, and it was just people celebrating, and I was like, this poor guy is getting hate because of a video game.
Yeah, being too good. Yeah.
Jake, you have anything else?
No, we really appreciate your time, Anthony. I'll just ask. This is kind of, we ask everybody this at the end, which is just like, is there anything that we didn't cover that you wanted to say, get out there? And if people want to find you, it looks like you have on social media. Just anything else that you wanted to add before we let you go?
Yeah, I mean, if people want to find me, I'm on social media. Other than that, I'm good. Appreciate you guys for the time. Thank you very much, and it really means a lot to me.
All right, well, we appreciate you having you on so much. So that is, we're going to call it for the first half of our show. Thank you once again, Anthony, for joining us. Red Sox 2025 third round pick, Anthony Eyanson. Thank you for joining the show.
Thank you guys very much. Appreciate it.
All right, we are back. Once again, thanks to Anthony Eyanson for joining the show.
It didn't run the intro video. I was worried.
Yes, last week I did cut it out, but after we paused with Brian Abraham and we came back, the intro video played. We had to pause for like 5 minutes in the middle, and the intro video played. I did cut it out in the audio version. I don't know if Jordan cut it out of the video version, but the intro video did play.
Which, speaking of, I was thinking about it when it played when we were doing the interview. We're going to need to do like a whole new video for next year. It's like 90% of those prospects are already in the majors. Like,
get on it.
There's Peyton Tolley, there's Connolly Early.
I kind of like though, like from like, because like doing it at the beginning of the year, if the guys reach the big leagues, it's kind of like a show of like progression. I guess.
Yeah, I just mean like for next year.
But yeah, for next year, we're definitely
put together a new
Frank and Aris
to Jordan,
Alan Castro.
Get on it, Jordan, or Matt, or whoever did that.
Or just how about
it was Jordan.
How about it's all Alan Castro highlights, and we do like a special like Alan Castro show.
When you asked Anthony Eyanson about like so I forget, it was when you asked about playing as himself in video games, when you said playing with, I was like, as if you fucking mentioned Alan Castro. I was like, Anthony Eyanson has no idea who that is, probably.
Well, almost certainly he does not. Maybe he does, but that would have been I wasn't going there.
No, I didn't go there. Would have been funny though.
Would have been funny.
Would have been
I agree.
hilarious. We're like, do you know who Ali Castro is? Greatest prospect in the history of prospects. We'll send you. Be like, I will make this a PSA now that we're here. We need Alan Castro merch. Jordan, come on, let's go.
I think
Let's
I mentioned
figure
it last week. I don't
Yeah.
understand how merch works.
Yeah.
Because I know Section 10 has mentioned how they can't use likeness because they'll get sued because you can't use the likeness of players. But then every other Red Sox podcast just has Cedar Rafaela on their shirt. And it's like, how are you not getting in trouble for this? I know you're not a big podcast, but I'd be scared.
Well, is it because I don't know, the Section 10, do they sell the merch? Is it you buy it? I feel like maybe other merch is that they don't sell it. I don't know.
No, I'll say I don't want to
No,
call
there are
people
people-
out.
there are
but I'll
people who
see it
sell
on
merch.
their thing where they're posting their stores with the merch on it.
Well, I don't know.
I think it's just. No
I
offense
think
to them because we're not big either, but I think it's more just they're not big enough for people to see it and care.
Possibly, yeah.
But
I
then,
think that's
if you
part of
get
it,
caught,
too.
you're going to have to give up all the money and probably more. It would scare me.
Definitely, if people go back into the archives of Grantland and read the article about the Yankees suck shirt guys, or the guys out 20. It was 25 years ago at this point when they started doing that. It's an incredible story, but anyway.
Yes. Let's get into our minor league talk here. We only have 2 levels, but we're going to kick things off talking a little bit about the Arizona Fall League. The Red Sox are sending a number of participants to the Arizona Fall League. The Red Sox players will all be with which team? I just had the Salt River Raptors.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. I literally had it, and then my screen.
I also had it,
jumped.
and I had
My
clicked away
screen
from the
jumped.
screen.
I clicked away from the screen. I clicked back to it, and when I went to look at it, my screen almost like an ad popped up. It just jumped down. Gotta love ads. Thanks internet. But the Red Sox are sending Stanley Tucker, Isaac Stevens, Brandon Neely, friend of the show Jojo Ingracia, Jonathan Brand, Johan Fran Garcia, another friend of the show, and Nelly Taylor, and then kind of the biggest name there for the Red Sox, Luis Perales, who just came back from injury, and he will be in the Arizona Fall League. Perales obviously is interesting just because considering coming off of Tommy John, there was the Spear report, was it in August, about maybe he could be an option. I'm not saying he will be an option for the Red Sox, but he is on the 40-man, and we have seen, someone like a Kyle Schwarber go to the Fall League and then pop up in the postseason. I'm not saying it's going to happen with Luis Perales. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but crazier things have happened, right? So I think Perales is probably, but also he's also the biggest name that the Red Sox are sending, so he's definitely going to be the one to watch. I'll hand it over to you first, Jake. Who are you excited to see, obviously, outside of Perales? Because obviously we're all excited to see Perales.
Yeah, I think that the other one who I think the expectation was that Perales was going to make his season debut with the Fall League team, but now obviously he got into one of the last games with Portland, and we'll talk about that when we talk about the Sea Dogs. And then, yeah, like you mentioned, who knows? Maybe he does pitch with the Red Sox before the season's over. I think that Brandon Neely is one that we've talked about in terms of that he was kind of slowly coming back from injury, and there was maybe a hope that he was going to get into a game with an affiliate before the end of the season. And obviously that did not happen. So if folks don't remember who Brandon Neely is, he was the Red Sox 3rd pick last year. So Braden Montgomery was the 1st pick. He obviously ends up getting traded to the White Sox in the Garrett Crochet trade. The Red Sox 2nd round pick was Peyton Tolley, who we have already seen in the big leagues and had an amazing season. And the Red Sox 3rd round pick was Brandon Neely, who they took out of the University of Florida last year. And he has just had this really kind of injury-plagued year. He went on the sort of 60-day minor league IL with forearm stiffness, which is not really something that you want to hear. But thankfully for him, it didn't result in him needing surgery or anything like that. There was one of those sort of Chris Hatfield of Sox prospects injury updates at one point saying that he was getting a throwing. I believe he was getting a throwing progression, that he was hoping to get into a game. Obviously, Red Sox were really careful with him. In case people don't know, he does throw relatively hard, like gets up to 97. He's got the what they call the gyro slider, sort of a hard, tight pitch, and really exciting to see that. And then he had been working on a changeup during his time at Florida. So I think that he's probably, besides Perales, is definitely the name for me is most interesting, just because we haven't seen what he's looked like at all. I would just, again, always I think going into this, and people I'm sure will be paying attention to what happens with the fall league once it starts up in October. The opening day is October 6th for the fall league this year. You don't take the stats at face value. Like, they play in the minor league stadiums, the spring training stadiums in Arizona. The ball is, it's one of these leagues where it's like virtually guaranteed that you'll have at least some hitting prospect that's in the league that puts up like video game numbers that will look like, like hitting like 700. Like, that happens like every year. It's a tough spot for pitchers to be in, for sure. And it's not necessarily, it's a low pressure environment for sure. So that's the best thing about it for the pitchers. But I would say pay attention to like Sox prospects and Baseball America and MLB Pipeline, and the people that like are on the ground there, like scouts, like Keith Law, I'm sure will be there, and Kylie McDaniel, and those guys. Like, they'll get eyes on these guys and get those reports. And I'm sure, and like I said, Sox prospects guys will get the reports as well of how guys actually look and that kind of thing. The scouting the stat line is never a good idea to begin with. Is especially not a good idea with the Arizona Fall League, where it's just like it is such a hitter friendly environment. So if Brandon Neely goes out there and he comes out of the time in the fall league and he has like a 6 ERA, like, it's nothing to be concerned about. There's nothing in terms of like what his actual statistics are that you could extrapolate forward about what kind of pitcher he's going to be. For a guy like Brandon Neely, I think a lot of this is about getting on the mound, facing guys from other teams, shaking the rust off and seeing what you have. So hopefully for him, it'll be a beneficial thing. So that was that was just one guy. I'm sure we'll talk about other guys too.
Yeah, for Brandon Neely, it's not even like you said. It's definitely not all about the numbers for anyone at that level, but like especially for Brandon Neely, who hasn't pitched since college in 2024. This is very much a hey, get some innings in. And the thing that is interesting to me is the Red Sox seem to be using the Arizona Fall League as like a rehab thing, which is something you see a lot, prospects that miss time. But there's also always a good mix of prospects who they just maybe feel like they want to work on a certain thing or they want to see them in this environment, whatever it is. But like Brandon Neely hasn't pitched all year. Luis Perales pitched 1 inning literally a couple days ago. Stanley Tucker hasn't played all year. And Jojo Ingracia made, I think it was 4 starts. Hold on, I have the numbers. Yeah, 4 starts. He hasn't pitched since April 25th, or 4 appearances. None of them were starts. He hasn't pitched since April 25th. Real massive shame. He was one of the prospects that really popped up last year. I mean, obviously he popped up last year. He was a 2023 draft pick, but I mean, like, he really like made a name for himself last year. He was striking out people at fantastic rates. He had 93 strikeouts in 58 1/3 innings, only 20 walks, a 1.85 ERA in single A. And then this year starting in high A, 17 innings, 3.18 ERA, 21 strikeouts compared to just 4 walks. People weren't getting hits off of him. He had a 0.82 whip. It really seemed like, a lefty with pretty gross stuff. He didn't throw like crazy hard or anything, but gross stuff. And again, you're in a system that continues to get people to take massive boosts in velo jump. So that was always a possibility. He really felt like a prospect who could shoot up rankings, make his way to Double-A, put up numbers there. So just a massive shame that we didn't get to see that this year. But I'm it's good to see that he's healthy enough to do this because obviously he hasn't pitched since April. So this is just a good way to get him a couple extra innings. And then Jonathan Brand's kind of confused. He had a confusing year in general for me. Like he started in, he might have started in Worcester. I don't remember. He made one appearance in Worcester, gave up 4 runs, didn't get an out. He walked 4 guys. Like it was bad. And then he was down in high A for a while, 20 innings there where he just absolutely dominated. He threw 31 innings in Portland. He was fantastic. And it's just confusing to me because he spent a good amount of time in Portland last year, 44 and a third innings. So I didn't really understand what was going on. Like he got one appearance in AAA, and then apparently that was enough. And then he was all the way back down in high A where he was just clearly way too good for the level for a while. And I know it's it's just a numbers game. Sometimes, you have to put someone somewhere else. But to me, it kind of felt like the Red Sox didn't view him that highly if they were willing to be like, oh, well, this guy who spent a lot of time in AA last year and was fine. He wasn't phenomenal or anything, but he was fine. We're going to throw him into high A, just kind of like to have the extra room in AA. And now he's getting time in the AFL, despite the fact that he didn't miss time this year. Like he threw 51 in the third innings out of the bullpen. He appeared in 33 games. So like now I'm back on the side of, is there something they like about him and they're seeing if he can work on a certain thing, or they want to see something extra, or they're trying to unlock something, whatever it is. But like you get a very limited number of AFL spots. So it's incredible the flip-flopping I've done with how does the Red Sox organization view Jonathan Brand. But I feel like this is a vote of confidence because again, you're only getting a couple spots, and him and Isaac Stebbins are the only two pitchers that really played all year. And then Nelly Taylor played all year. And then the only other guy, Johan Fran Garcia. Love the fact that he's there because again, like he missed time at the start of the year with the injury, but he has played very regularly since he came back, and he's played a ton more catcher than I think any of us expected. I think that was like the big question was, he's going to come back. But there were questions after it happened of, is this the end of Johan Fran Garcia as a catcher? Like a serious knee injury, maybe like that makes it hard to catch in the first place, but maybe they're just like, oh, you know what? He's a good enough hitter. Let's throw him at first base. We don't want to ruin the bat. And then he gets to the FCL, and it seemed like he was catching almost every game he played in. And there was not even a whiff of first base. And that felt like a big positive. And then he gets to, they throw him up into high, and he was catching a ton, and he struggled a little bit at first. The power wasn't really there, but I feel like he ended up putting together a really solid season. He was throwing people out. He had a bunch of clutch hits. He had multiple walk-offs. He hit some ridiculously hard hit home runs. And he's the top catching prospect in the system. And I love seeing them give him a little bit more time to work on things, despite the fact that he ended up getting a pretty decent amount of playing time this year. So I'm really excited to see Johan Fran Garcia completely healthy next year. And it's just good to see him getting a couple extra swings in the upcoming days.
So I did pull up the Jonathan Brand sort of journey this year, and it is kind of wild. Yeah. He started the year with the Sea Dogs. He pitched 4 games there. He went up to Worcester. I think that the Woo Sox had a doubleheader, and he pitched a third of an inning and gave up 4 earned runs in his one appearance with the Woo Sox. He went back.
Wait, he got an out?
He did get, or no, actually he did not.
Okay.
Sorry, I misread that.
I was going to say, it says his ERA is infinite. So
yeah, he gave up a double, and he had 4 walks. So that was his one outing in Worcester. Then he goes back to Portland. He's there for about a month. End of May, he goes to Greenville for 2 games, and then he goes back to Portland for a month, starting mid-June to mid-July, and then he goes back to Greenville for a little over a month, July to the end of August. And then he comes back up to Portland for 3 more outings to finish the year. So absolutely. And now they're sending him to the fall league. So it's absolutely one of the more bizarre sort of
like that type of movement doesn't feel like someone that they're super jacked up about, right?
No, they want him to fit, like we have a need here, so we're going to send you there, and actually we have a need here, so we're going to send you there. Like we don't actually. I mean, he is like what 25 years old at this point, and he's the Red Sox drafted him in 2022, and I don't know, but it is I definitely do think that they view him probably as an organizational depth arm at this point, but the fact that they're sending him to the fall league is pretty interesting. So, but yeah, that is a pretty crazy amount of movement.
Yeah, I'm just taking a peek at the roster for Salt River, and I think so. As I was looking at the catchers they have, it's obviously Johan Fran, Juan Flores, who is the Angels' 18th ranked prospect by MLB Pipeline, and then Kenny Castillo, who's a Diamondbacks prospect, but he's not in their top 30. So there's very clearly a chance for Johan Fran to get a decent amount of playing time. I was also just looking through to see if there's anyone else that's like really interesting. Their only like really interesting guy is Charlie Condon. So I mean, if you want to watch Red Sox prospects, you'll probably see from Charlie Condon. Outside of that, there's no other top 100 prospects there. Whereas some of the other teams look a heck of a lot more loaded from a top 100 prospect status. Of note, just a couple people I did want to kind of name drop. Brandon Montgomery is playing with Glendale, and then Angel Bastardo, who still has ties to the Red Sox. Rule 5 pick from the Blue Jays from the Red Sox. He is also playing for Glendale as well. So kind of a couple of names with Red Sox ties there also included. Doesn't feel like there's a ton else, in all honesty, really to go over, outside the fact that there's like 50 million pitchers on the roster, which always happens in the Arizona Fall League. So don't bank on a guy like Perales pitching a ton, right? I have 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24 pitchers on the roster. Don't bank on him pitching a ton, right? But it'll still be nice to see him pitch, obviously. And then I was just looking, like I said, looking through the roster. There's this Pirates prospect, Tony Blanco Jr., where there's like nothing about him. He played this year 28 games in low A. And before this year, he'd only played in the DSL and the FCL. But yet his hometown's listed as Boston, even though he played in the DSL, which is interesting. But then also, too, I just thought it funny. He's listed at 6'7", 243. I just thought that was funny. So they got a basketball player on the team, I guess. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting. There's not really anything else. Brandon Dufault is from New Hampshire. He's an Angels prospect on that team. So, and then Ben Shields, a Rockies prospect, is also from Boston, according to the roster. So I guess there's a couple New England ties there as well if you really want to pay attention to the Arizona Fall League. I know not a ton of people do, but if you really want to get in the weeds, I guess those are kind of some people you can look out for. But yeah, big thing for me, I think, is just we got some friends of the show there. Jojo and Garcia and Nelly Taylor should be fun. And then obviously Perales and Garcia especially I'm excited about. On Perales, though, I think we probably should shift to Portland because Luis Perales made his first appearance of the year, 1 inning, just the 1 walk, and clean pretty much throughout it, was pumping high 90s. I'll hand it over to you, Hunter. What are your thoughts on Perales's, obviously it's just 1 inning, his first appearance of the year, but what are your thoughts on the fact that we did get to see him before Portland season closed?
Yeah, of course, my Safari wants to be terrible right now. I'm pretty sure, and I'm the one that tweeted it out, so you would think I would remember. I'm pretty sure he hit 100 on his 6th pitch of the game. I don't remember if it was 100 or 99, but I feel like I remember saying he hit 100. And that was according to the, it was 100. That was according to the broadcast. And then Ian Kundle also said that according to the in stadium radar, he hit 100. He said he was sitting between 97 and 100. So maybe not the most significant thing in the world, whatever. It's cool that you're throwing hard, but what I should say is that was someone's response to me is like, oh, the Red Sox have a lot of players that can throw hard, it doesn't mean they're good. I don't think he was a Red Sox fan, but like, you don't know who Luis Perales is if you're saying that. Like, the significance of it was, hey, this is his 6th pitch back in 15 months. Like, this was the first game he appeared in 15 months, and he's hitting 100 in game. Obviously, we had seen video of him during like live BP and stuff hitting 100, but it's a completely different animal in game. So it was cool to see him hit 100. I was upset he didn't get a strikeout, but he only pitched the 1 inning. He went out, walk, double play, I think. Was the exact
fly out, walk, and then 6-4-3 double play.
I was hoping he could get another inning, but also it 100% makes sense that he wasn't going to get another inning. But it was just one of those things where it was like, it was almost a tease. You know, we get 1 inning of Luis Perales in Portland's like 3rd to last game ever, 3rd to last game of the season, and it was like, man, just the guy that 15 months ago was like the pitching prospect in the system. The guy that heading into this year was the pitching prospect in the system, even though everyone knew he wasn't going to pitch. Obviously, you know, we got the Peyton Tolley rise, and Connolly Early has been so good, and a lot of other people. The pitching has been phenomenal. But you get 1 inning of this guy that everyone's been excited for, you know, going on 3 seasons now. And it's important to remember. It's important to remember that like this is a guy who was ranked, I think, 57th in 57th best prospect in the world, according to Baseball America, right before the injury. I'm still a little pissed that they just like completely wiped him off the list after he got hurt. I get it. You know, you don't want to take up a spot of a guy who's not going to pitch for a while. And also that could just hurt their view of someone. You know, this guy's not going to pitch. We don't know how he's going to look coming back. Obviously, Tommy John is a very serious thing. But like, it's important to remember this is still just a 22-year-old. He made his AA debut last year. He's barely pitched at that level. He had made 2 starts, 7 1/3 innings. Obviously, got hurt in the second start. I still would like to apologize for that. I was supposed to be at his 3rd start. And I blame me for the reason he got hurt in the second start, because I have bad luck with Luis Perales. When he was making his high A debut, I was supposed to be in Greenville, and that game got rained out. So clearly I'm just bad luck for Luis Perales. People remind me next year to not go to any Luis Perales starts. I'm going to anyway, but yeah, it was great to see him back on the mound. You can't really discuss too much of the outing just because it was 16 pitches, but it was good to see him hit 100. The command looked fine. Again, it's just so hard to judge off 16 pitches. But it was just the big takeaway for me was how ridiculous the pitching has been in the system this year. And now they have Luis Perales back. And there's been a lot of talk of like the system falling off after the big 3 graduated, and now Peyton Tolley is going to graduate at some point, and people wondering like who will there be left for fans to get excited about coming up. And it's like this is the guy, or one of the guys. Like again, I just said it a minute ago. He was the 57th best prospect in the nation according to Baseball America before the injury. Don't be shocked if he quickly gets back on their boards now that he's healthy, and especially if he starts next year looking anything like he did in 2023 or 2024. Like this is such a ridiculously talented pitcher. It was so good to see him in 2024 really cut back on the walks. It was something that he did midway through the 2023 season as well, where like the walks really started to kind of correct themselves a little bit, and he still had the outing here or there where it looked bad. But the stuff is so good. And yeah, I'm excited to have him back and have such a massive name to get to talk about next year.
I think that we've seen so many guys struggle in some senses, whatever senses, when they come back from having Tommy John surgery. And I think that just the fact that the velo is all the way back, in fact, even better than it was before, is an amazing sign for him. And I think that just getting that inning under his belt is huge for him and huge for his confidence. And we'll see how he does in the fall league. And I think that there's no reason to doubt that if he proves himself to be healthy and proves himself to be back to the pitcher he was last year, before he got hurt, that I think that there's, considering his placement on the roster, the fact he's on the 40-man roster, I just think that there's a huge chance that we see him in the major leagues next year at the latest. So, if we're talking about the other pitchers for the week, it was a pretty decent week for a bunch of the starters as the sort of season wrapped up for Portland. The game, I believe, that Perales started, right? He threw the first inning, and then John Hollabetz came in. I think that's what happened. And Hollabetz just kind of like finishing off a really impressive stretch in his time with Portland. Obviously, friend of the show. He came on our show. He came on. I was not on that particular episode, but 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 7 strikeouts, 1 walk over the course of the start. He finishes his time with Portland with a 2.39 ERA in 6 outings, 5 of which were starts, 37 and 2/3 innings. He did just have the 27 strikeouts, so he wasn't necessarily missing a lot of bats, but he only gave up 1 home run. And he only had five walks to the 27 strikeouts. So right around the plate, inducing weak contact, getting some strikeouts where he needs to. And I think that I'm going to be very excited to see how he does with a full offseason in the Red Sox. But I think we've seen, obviously, the Brewers are very good at developing pitchers and bringing guys to the big leagues and being successful. But I am excited to see how John Hollabetz looks after a full offseason working within the Red Sox pitching program. And I think there's something very intriguing there, a very intriguing arm overall. And he could continue to rise up through the ranks of the Sox system. Only other 2 guys I'll mention from the starting pitching standpoint are really good, solid last start for Eduardo Rivera, who was a bit up and down with his time with the Sea Dogs after moving up from Greenville. 6 innings, 1 hit, no runs, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. And last one I'll mention is Dalton Rogers, who I believe pitched yesterday, Sunday, last game of the year. 5 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 8 strikeouts, 2 walks. And overall, again, a little bit up and down, but his during the last couple of he had some rough stretches, but I feel like last month he kind of found something. Definitely his last 5 appearances with the Sea Dogs, he had a 1.01 ERA, a 1.76 batting average against, 33 strikeouts in 26 and 2/3 innings. He did have 13 walks, so the command wasn't always there. But again, only 3 earned runs allowed, and not a name, a pitching name not to sleep on is Dalton Rogers for sure, considering that he has got basically almost a full season with Double-A under his belt and finished pretty strong. So that's what I had on the pitchers for the Sea Dogs.
Well, I'm now out of stuff on pitchers because I was gonna,
I have a few notes.
I was gonna say something about Dalton Rogers, but Jake kind of already covered it. So, which hey, totally fine. Hunter, what do you have?
Just a couple notes first on a few of the guys that you touched on. Yeah, the Eduardo Rivera start, definitely his best in Double-A. There's an argument that it was his best of the season. He had 6 2/3, 1 hit, no runs, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts on June 14th back with Greenville. So he went 2/3 more of an inning, but he walked 1 extra person. So take it either way. But either way, a fantastic start, really good end to his season. Massive positive note, and just what a find for the Red Sox. Like, even with the up and downs in Double-A, he ended up posting a 3.40 ERA there. He had a 1.61 in high A. Like, this is a guy that the A's just released last year after not that much time either. He had 7 2/3 in the FCL, 2 2/3 in high A or 2 2/3 in single A, and then 8 1/3 in high A, and that was it. And like, he really struggled in high A, but it seemed like they gave up on him, and he's been nothing but phenomenal since getting to the Red Sox organization. He throws hard. His secondary stuff has looked good. So that's a massive win for the Red Sox as of right now. The one note I had with John Hollabetz, just he made 6 starts with Double-A with Portland and threw at least 6 innings in all 6 starts. That is a ridiculous statistic. Like, minor league pitchers do not tend to go super deep into games. They're on pitch counts that teams are usually pretty strict about. So that should tell you about the efficiency of John Holloway. Like, it was 6 innings, 6 2/3, 7 innings, 6 innings, 6 innings, 6 innings. That's incredible to me. Dalton Rogers was phenomenal in high A to start the year, got to double A, and it was a little up and down, maybe more down than up. But over his last 8 starts in double A, or 8 appearances in double A, no, they were all starts, 8 starts, sub 2 ERA. I think it was like a 1.74 or something like that. I don't remember. I looked it up last night. But he ended up putting together a really solid full season. So massive positive for him. Just another guy that the Red Sox have quietly improved so much this season that goes under the radar because of a lot of the other big names in the system. And then a couple people made their debut at the level this week. Noah Dean, 2 2/3 innings, 1 hit, no runs, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. He's been really good since making that flip to a full-time reliever. It's what he was in college. And it seems like the Red Sox have decided that should maybe just be the way to go with him. And it was good to see him get a taste of double A and succeed in that first appearance to end the year. Michael Sansone also made his debut at the level. 1 inning, 1 game, 3 innings, 1 hit, no runs, no walks, 2 strikeouts. He was fantastic all year long. Another guy who definitely, he deserved the promotion. Another guy who definitely just isn't going to get talked about much, especially someone who, for the most part, was a reliever this year. 27 games, he made 7 starts. But he was a reliever in the sense of more name than anything else. Like, in 27 appearances, he threw 88 1/3 innings. That's a lot of innings for a reliever. Like, that is he usually wasn't going out there and throwing 1 inning. And then Danny Kerwin also made his debut. He looked pretty solid. Cooper Adams continued to look really good this week. And then Giovanni Cruz threw 1 shutout inning. And we talked about him a decent amount, but just a phenomenal overall season for Giovanni Cruz. A 3.03 ERA. He hits 102 on the fastball, which is ridiculous. Another really good find by the Red Sox this offseason. Rivera was during last season, but Cruz was a minor league Rule 5 guy who really put together a fantastic season in double A. And I don't think there's been any double A to triple A promotions like in the last day, which I was kind of expecting to see maybe a couple with the double A season officially over.
Yeah, not that I've seen.
But he's someone that I feel like would definitely be on the short list to get thrown into triple A and get 1 or 2 outings in the final week. He's been phenomenal, and I think he'll be a interesting name to look at next year. He'll probably start the year in triple A, and if he pitches good, he could be someone that could very easily be seen as bullpen help at some point next year.
Yeah, I'll move on to the position player side. I want to touch on Justin Reimer. This week, 2 for 11, but he drew 3 walks, and I feel like that's kind of been the story of his year in some ways. His overall numbers are really just wacky in terms of 231 average, but a 421 on base. He has a 697 OPS for the year. Just his walk rate was just shy of 23% this year. Obviously, majority of his games with Greenville. Only 6 games with Portland, but still, it's still wacky. I went to his Fangraphs page and was looking at some of the numbers. His swing rate this year was 25.4%. So, and then his contact rate was just over 87%. So, doesn't swing the bat a lot, but when he does swing the bat, he makes contact. The interesting thing, I know it's a small sample size. His first pitch strike rate in Greenville was just under 44%. Really small sample size in Portland, so grain of salt. His first pitch strike rate in Portland in his 6 games was 66.7%, so 2/3 of the time. I think that's just something to kind of keep an eye on as, I would assume next year he starts in Portland. What's it going to look like on the pitching side of things? But he's going to be facing better pitchers. How are they going to attack him? if they know he's only swinging at 1 out of every 4 pitches, if you're playing the percentages, are they just going to pound the strike zone and say, you know what, no, you're not going to walk because we're just going to pound the strike zone? Because with Reimer, there's not a ton of power there either. I mean, he's got 1 career home run in pro ball, right? There's not a ton of power. This year he had 7 doubles and 1 home run in 82 games, right? But his ability to get on base is spectacular, right? I'm just interested to see kind of how it's going to look next year with potentially a full year in Double-A, full year in Portland, what it's going to look like in terms of how pitchers attack him and how it's going to work for him next year. Because as great as him getting on base, with the 421 on base percentage, as great as that is, there's still stuff where you still look at the overall numbers and you go, okay, the on base is great, but what happens if pitchers start throwing the ball in the zone more, right? I think that's kind of going to be the next question for Reimer. Because, like I said, there's not a ton of power there. The bat-to-ball skills when he does swing are really good, right? But there's not a ton of power there. So it's something where I'm just interested. But he's played all over the place. He had a good year, right? He played games at second base, third base. He played 2 games at shortstop this year. And then he got games in left field and right field this year. So can play all over the place. Like I said, just really good eye at the plate. Draws his more than his fair share of walks. But I am going to be interested to see what that next step of development for him could potentially look like.
I liked Reimer since they drafted him, and I think he's had some injury stuff, and he had injury stuff in college too. But I think that there's this vacuum now with the Red Sox with position players where a guy like Reimer could very easily step up and be part of this next generation of. Do I think that he's going to be like a top 100 prospect or anything like that? No, but I think that he could be that next step of the sort of Nick Sogard type guys that come up through the system. And I know we've talked about Tyler McDonough being a guy who could be a possibility for a major league roster spot. I think that Justin Reimer is perfectly capable with his bat to ball skills as being somebody that could fill that void. So I'm excited to see him probably start next year back in Portland and have an opportunity to be one of those guys that kind of moves up into the next tier and be an option for the major league team. I'll just mention, I think right now, if we're doing the sort of Hunter method of if guys play in the big leagues, they drop off the rankings. Like Franklin Arias is now sort of back to being that number 1 prospect in the system. And he finished the year obviously with Portland and hit another home run this week. Overall, 6 for 26 on the week. Did have a double as well. Didn't draw a walk, but only struck out twice in the 6 games. Had a stolen base and 1 caught stealing. He finishes with a overall sorry, I just had it. I lost it. In Portland, he finished hitting 261, just a 250 on base, but this was only 10 games, just giving him a taste. Again, we're talking about guys next year. Really, I think important for him to get some exposure to Eastern League pitching and what he's going to be facing next year as sort of going into next season, if he's still here, if he's not traded, being by far the top position prospect in the system and probably the best overall prospect who has not played in the majors. I think that Peyton Tolley will probably go into the year consensus on most lists as the top prospect. But again, the way that I know Hunter does it, if a guy plays in the big leagues, they drop off the list. So Arias for the season, 278, 335 on base, just the 388 slug. So I think maybe I'm guessing that sort of bulking up, adding more of an ability to kind of hit the ball with authority, get more extra base hits. I don't know that he's ever going to be he's not going to be a 25, 30 homer a year guy, but it is important to remember that he is only 19 and that there's a big, bright future ahead of him. So big week, big to finish off his time with Portland this year. He did have two home runs. which is more. He did not hit a single home run with Salem earlier this year, but again, he was in Salem during the time of year when it was really hard to hit home runs. So good for Franklin Arias. Good, season to establish himself as sort of this top prospect who can do all these things. But there's more levels that he can reach and more that he can do. And I think having a good full off season to work on those things will put him in great spot to be able to really, do a great job in the Eastern League next year.
I just want to quickly add, I made not an exact comp, obviously, but I was like, Arias feels very like it could be very Bogarts like in terms of like kind of can do everything. He's not going to like hit for a ton of power, right? But can be your shortstop. Can it's going to put the bat on the ball. It's going to kind of do a bunch of different things, but he's not going to necessarily be the biggest power guy. Bogarts, if you take out the Juice 2019 year, only hit 20 home runs 3 other times, and they're 21, 23, and 23 homer years. Every other year he's been anywhere from 10 to 19. And with the Red Sox, it was, he had the 320 home run years, and he was around the low teens the other 3 years outside of the juiced ball year in 2019, right? Like, I think Arias, you very well, like, yeah, he might only max out at 20 home runs, but, like, that's still at shortstop with what he can do, that can still be a very, very productive player. So I just want to bring that back because, like I said, I made the Bogarts, I put comp in air quotes at the beginning of the year because it's not really a comp player to player, but it's more of a, hey, like Bogarts was really good for a long time, didn't always, hit for a ton of power, but, 15, 20 homers, kind of do a lot of different things on the field. And also Bogarts debuted really young, Arias reaching AA at such a young age. Somewhat similar, kind of, but not play type similar, but I think you two get what I'm saying at the very least.
Yeah, it was a more than good enough 10 games for Arias in AA. It was good to see him with the 435 slug. Obviously 10 games, it's not a crazy sample size or anything, but a very Portland final week. Like, of course, they didn't score a run in their last 2 games, and that's what we've talked about all year is Portland's offense, just especially since Euston Garcia and Blaze Jordan moved up to AAA. Like, they really lost a lot of their pop, and then they lose Mikey Romero, and they just really haven't had people to carry the lineup. So it was good to see Arias get a little bit of shine at the top and play more than good enough. But it was they have a 6-game series and they score 0 runs, 5 runs, nice, 8 runs, nice, 4 runs, okay, and then no runs. So to get shut out 3 times in your final week is a little rough. And they got shut out in their last home game of the season, the week prior, their last game of that series, they lost 5-0. So they really just kind of like limped to the finish line there. But someone who did have a good week, Abram Liendo, 6 for 16. He hit a triple, 2 RBIs, stole 2 more bases. I feel like I've talked about him too much to the point where he's not underrated. Like, don't get me wrong, most people still would have no idea who he is, but like, I can't keep saying someone is underrated if I'm talking about them every week. But he finished the season with 3 straight 2-hit games. That's cool. He does not hit for power, 308 slugging percentage on the year, 239 average, but the 323 on base percentage is solid when you consider the average was below 240. And that's all he has to do, just get on base, and he can cause a ton of havoc. Like that, you don't need to hit a double or a triple if you're just going to steal second and third anyway. 42 steals on 49 attempts. That shatters his old record of 31 steals, which he set last year. And then just phenomenal defensive infielder. He played second, third, short, and was making highlight plays multiple times a week. It didn't matter what position he was at. And it wasn't just highlight plays. Like, he's a very fundamentally sound defensive player. And you'll see a lot of errors with all these guys. Starlin Nunez, for example, was a very solid defender in single A this year, but he had like 30 something errors. A lot of those plays wouldn't be errors. Don't get me wrong. You make some boneheaded plays. You just misplay a pop up or whatever it is. But you're also, not only are you learning, you're also throwing to a first baseman who's learning. And, a major league first baseman's going to make a lot more scoops than a guy in single A or a guy in double A in Liendo's case, especially considering Liendo had like 7 different first basemen this year, including Brooks Brannon, who is learning the position this year. So it's hard to really look at errors in the minor leagues and worry about them too much. But Liendo is one of those guys who is never going to be viewed as a good prospect because the bat is never going to be anything crazy, and especially the power is never going to be anything crazy. But I truly see him as someone who will make an impact in the major leagues at some point. Maybe not for the Red Sox, but at some point. He's only 21 and he had a very solid season in Double-A. But the speed and the defense will get him far enough that if he can continue to even make these slight improvements, like this was obviously the numbers weren't great as I've mentioned, but this was still his best offensive year in the Red Sox minor league system. This was his first year in Double-A. He had never played at the level before this, and he put up better numbers than he ever had. So clear improvements were made. One of the big things was he stopped being a switch hitter and focused solely on hitting right-handed. But like last year between single A and high, or no, I'm sorry, he did get a taste of Double-A last year. But last year between high A and Double-A, he hit 196 with a 290 on base percentage. The year before that, only in single A, he hit 205. He did have a 353 on base. But like last year, it was even a 255 slug. So like the slugging went up, the average went up, the on base went up, the steals obviously went up because of that. So like we did see offensive improvements from him. He's still very young. He'll probably start next year in Double-A as well. So like this is a guy who can still grow and get better. So it was just a positive year from him. And in a week where Portland's offense was rolling over dead, Abram Liendo was one of the few people who put together a really good week.
Well, Portland might have, Portland could have had the greatest offense, this week had they, had Alan Castro, but, unfortunately things didn't work out. Castro ended the season on the injured list. And
Miguel Blaze only played one game too. Yeah. So they did have some of their big hitters missing a lot of time there.
Mm-hmm. Yes. But hey, Alan Castro, Portland MVP. Never forget.
And that.
With that though, I don't have anything else. I think it's a good time to move up to Worcester. And I think the best place to start in Worcester this week, friend of the show, Mikey Romero, 3 homers and 2 doubles this week. Yes, he did strike out 10 times. With Mikey, it's very much I feel like we mentioned this a ton with him, but when he gets hot, it is fun to watch. 17 homers this year in 105 games. He's still got a week left of the season. He's got 50 extra base hits on the year between Double-A and Triple-A. Just a stellar year, right? Like I said, the 50 extra base hits, 17 homers. Yes, he has struck out a lot this year, right? But overall, I mean, he had 34 walks this year, which is 34 of his 74 career walks this season, right? I feel like that is a step in the right direction. Obviously, he did play a little bit under half of his career games this year in the minor leagues this year, right? But he's been relatively healthy this year. And the fact that, he has almost half of his career walks this year, I think is very telling and is something that he wanted to work on. And, he is one step away from the big leagues. And, yeah, there's still a week left in the year, but just a very he could have a very hot end to the year if he comes in with another hot week. I mean, he hits 3 homers again, he'll be at 20 for the year, right? Just like I said, when Mikey Romero gets hot, it is fun to watch, right? And he can hit the ball a mile. So, is the only other thing I will note on Mikey Romero. He hasn't been playing a ton of shortstop lately. I know Tyler McDonough's been getting a lot of games at short as of late, but Mikey Romero's been getting time at second and third. He is just also too. I just will mention he is someone who maybe could be a name and trade discussion, just because the Red Sox are kind of somewhat blocked potentially in the infield long term, or even relatively short term and long term potentially, depending on what happens with Bregman, Story. Seems like they're not putting Christian Gamble at first, which would probably seem like second base. He'll be in the mix. Marcelo Meyer as well, right? Romy Gonzalez, you can't deny him at this point either. So Mike Romero very well could be a name that gets brought up, unfortunately, just because of kind of being blocked. But I also very well can see him sticking around in Worcester for being a Worcester at the start of next year as well, and being an option. God forbid something happens with the big league team, Mike Romero could be an option. Although he hits left-handed, which, the Red Sox, just them and their left-handed hitters, just, can't avoid them, I guess, apparently. I don't know. Just them and their left-handed hitters. We got to get that all left-handed lineup at some point. It's going to happen at some point.
Got the all right-handed lineup this week.
That's true. And I think that they don't have a left-handed hitting catcher.
They'll figure it out
at the moment. Who?
Carlos
Narvaez.
Connor Wong, bat lefty.
Yeah. Can't hurt, right?
Well,
we did have 2 hits on Saturday.
At times this year, it might have been better than him hitting already. Brooks Brannon, I guess. No, not Brooks Brannon. Sorry, Nathan Higgy. My brain's fried. My brain is fried. It tells you how much I'm fried. Nathan Hickey, I guess, could catch.
He could, though.
He could. I'm not saying he will. He
could. He just hasn't done it.
Yeah.
Tough week for Nathan Hickey this past week. He was 1 out of 21, but
I don't know. Maybe they'll sign a catcher in the offseason. Maybe. Maybe. I don't know.
You can just watch Connor Wong hit and hold up a mirror to the screen. Then he's hitting left-handed.
I mean, that's not necessarily wrong.
It's 100% not wrong.
People
might look at you sideways, but that's how he could look.
Where are
at
the left-handed catchers? Like, that's what I would need to know. Where are the left-handed catchers?
Well, left-handed hitting catchers, or
yes,
well,
I
mean, there are a lot of them are switch hitters, like Adley Rutschman's a switch hitter, and
I mean, Victor Caratini's a free agent, so
well, you could.
I know he's a switch hitter, but
you could possibly trade for Rutschman. It does seem like he might be on the block this offseason, but. So anyway, other guys to talk about. I think there's a lot of discussion. There's especially a lot of discussion about Christian Campbell in the wake of our interview with Brian Abraham. There was some news there about position and they don't really see him playing first base. He did play 1 game at first base this past week. He did not play any games at second base. He played a game at first. He DH'd 1 game, and the rest of the time he played in right field. There was some news, I think, from what Brian told us about the Anthony injury being the catalyst for him getting time in right field, and they've continued to stick with him there. So the question has come up of the offense, obviously, for the Red Sox has sputtered a bit, and the question is, would you see Campbell in the big leagues before the end of the season? Obviously, Worcester has a whole nother week of games, and then the last week it's just the last week of the season. It's just the Red Sox. It's not outside the realm of possibility that we could see Campbell. That's my feeling. I think some of it has to do with Abreu, who hopefully is back soon. Apparently, he felt good running the bases over the weekend. Seems like I think he'll probably be back soon. Hopefully, as long as he doesn't have a.
What percentage do we think he's at?
I'm not. Well, it was at 86. Like they actually are literally able to come up with that number.
Yeah, because they said 86, and they needed him 4 more %, and he'd be good.
So it sounds like he might have been at that 4 more %. I don't know. But Campbell this month, if we're just looking at the numbers, he has in September, he's at 311, 392, 476, 467. High BABIP, almost 400, but it is a small sample. He has 11 strikeouts and 51 at-bats, which is a little over 20%. Not terrible. He does have, of his 14 hits, 4 of them are extra base hits, a homer, a triple, and two doubles. So, so I think that I think what we're gonna do is or what I think the Red Sox are gonna do is that they're gonna give him that next week, and I think that in Worcester, and I just don't think they would want him to have sporadic playing time. Like, I think that's been the whole reason why he's been there, is so that he could play and continue to work stuff out. And as far as this week goes, like I said, he's been good. He had one extra base hit. He did have a double this week, 7 for 24, 292, 370 on base. So we'll see. I'm pretty sure that that there's at least a possibility that we'll see him. And I think that, like, again, if it's a situation where he's able to come off the bench. I think the Red Sox are willing to do that the last week of the season. I think it's a good sign that they're keeping him there. If the Red Sox were out of it, I feel like he would be up and playing every day. But it's obviously the Red Sox are still they're in this hunt, and there's 2 weeks left, and I think it would be good for Campbell to be around the team no matter what the last week and into the playoff. Whether or not he is activated and actually plays, we'll see. So we'll see what happens with that. But again, thank you to Brian Abraham for coming on and giving us some news about the first base future for Campbell, even though he did play a game there this past week.
I found a potential left-handed hitting catcher who's a free agent.
Current free agent?
Who will be a free agent, who a lot of Red Sox fans might like.
Reese McGuire?
No. Better.
How could... I just want to say for the record that I had this whole thing about Christian Campbell, and I think Hunter was probably about to chime in, and you had decided to have the show come to a screeching halt so that you could bring up a
probably bad catcher.
Just say it.
Kyle Schwarber.
Okay. This would be where the suspension music would come in if we had such a thing.
Hey, ABS coming in, who needs to frame anyways, right? Like,
that man should never see the field. So quick, I'll start with a quick note just on Mikey Romero. I'm desperate for him to hit a triple this week, because if he does, he will have new career highs in doubles, triples, homers, RBIs, walks, runs scored, and steals. So he needs that one extra triple. He's at 4. That is tied for his career high with last year. Obviously, he's played more games than he's ever has, but that's a part of it. He's more healthy than he's ever been, and he's producing. With Christian Campbell, I agree. I feel like he's still down there at the moment just because they want him to get everyday playing time and work things out. And at this point, you might as well keep him down there for the last week and let him get an extra, 20 at bats than he would if he was in the majors playing every other day. But it's very easy to understand the frustration of Red Sox fans just with how pathetic the offense has been. Even yesterday, they scored 6 runs in the first inning and then did absolutely nothing the rest of the way. And 3 of those hits were 60-mile-an-hour singles. The Bregman single, I think, was in the 60s. The Nate Lowe single was in the 60s. And Jarren Duran's triple was not that hard hit. And if Giancarlo Stanton was not out in left field, that would not have been a triple. That man is possibly the slowest person I've ever seen. I don't know. It genuinely doesn't look like he's running. There was that video of him last year where he got thrown out at home by 20 feet. And it literally looks like he's walking with effort. It makes no sense to be able to move that slow. But I agree with you. I don't know if we'll see him really play much if they do call him up, or if they do call him up at all. But I do feel like it would make sense to just have him around the team during the playoff push. You're allowed to do that, right? If the season's over, there's no reason he can't be present with the team.
I mean, if he's on the 40-man roster,
but if they're going that far, I feel like you might as well just activate him, because I do feel like he's a better right-handed bat than some of your other options. And he can play multiple positions. There's arguments of how good he's playing those positions. But I still feel like it would make sense to activate him at the end of the AAA season and just have him as an option. And who knows, maybe he gets back up and appears in 2 games the first week and he plays really well. And then he appears in a couple more games and he's playing really well. And all of a sudden it's like, hey, this is an option for the playoffs. Maybe we want a right-handed bat who's looked really good the last couple weeks of the season. So he's one of those frustrating guys when it comes to, and I've mentioned this a couple times, when it comes to the scoreboard watchers, because I'll have people say I'll tweet out Christian Campbell's now 2 for 2 on the day. And people will be like, oh, I bet you they're both 60-mile-an-hour singles. And sometimes one of them is a 60-mile-an-hour single and the other one's a 108-mile-an-hour single. Sometimes they're both 108-mile-an-hour singles. Sometimes they're both weak hit. But like the exit velocity does seem to be improving a little bit, and I'm pretty sure that's something Brian Abraham said is they've been happy with the moderate improvements that he's been making in that sense over the last month. But what frustrates me is people will complain when he has a 60-mile-an-hour single, but then if I say like, oh, Christian Campbell lined out, it was 112 miles an hour, it doesn't seem to bother them that he hit it hard. It's, well, he still recorded an out. But yeah, the at bats have looked better. He's looking more like himself. I would like to see him back on the Red Sox roster, getting a chance to contribute before the end of the year. Especially, this doesn't even really have as much to do with him as it does. Like at the start of the year, he was up in the majors, and the thought process was Roman Anthony will be joining soon, and Marcelo Meyer could be joining later in the year. And then there was a week stretch where all three of them were on the roster at the same time, and it was like this could be a playoff team, and what like this could be so much fun. And now the Red Sox are currently in a playoff spot. Obviously, they've been slumping a little bit, but they're still very much in control of their own destiny. And we're probably not going to see any of the big three on the playoff roster, and that just kind of bums me out a little bit. So I would love to see him get a chance at the end of the year and catch lightning in a bottle and somehow find a way to make one of those playoff rosters. And then the only other hitter I really had anything on was just Yastinson Garcia, 3 for 18 this week. He's been slumping really hard since getting sent back down. I don't know if it's a mental thing, if it's a travel thing, if it's a physical thing, if it's just a slump. Everybody goes through slumps at some point. But he did hit a home run this week, which was awesome to see. I think it was like his 18th of the year. So if he can hit 2 more this week, he'll have back-to-back seasons with 20 home runs. But still not a great week. Nobody's getting too excited about a 167 batting average on the week, but just him getting a home run, I think, is a big thing to get off of his back, and maybe he can finish the year strong.
Yeah, I don't have anything else on the position player side. So let's take a trip to the pitching side of things. I feel like we should probably start with Tyler Uberstein. Just 5 innings, 2 hits, no runs, 6 strikeouts, just the 1 walk and 1 hit batter. I don't know what more there really is to say at this point though about him. Like it's every week. It's been almost every week. Like, good start from Uberstein. Good start. Just it's just consistently feels like it's consistently been good start after good start. Outside of his August 30th start against Durham, it's been pretty much smooth sledding since from post All-Star break onwards. It's pretty much been smooth sledding, and he might not get a chance this year, but he's making himself a real good case to get a big league chance somewhere, whether it's with the Red Sox or somewhere else next year. Whether it's through the Rule 5 draft or the Red Sox protect him and keep him on the 40-man. He could be a Cooper Criswell replacement just because Criswell is not going to have any more options after this year. So he could maybe find himself being that kind of Cooper Criswell replacement on the 40-man of kind of AAA depth starter who could be bullpen depth in the big leagues or make a spot start as needed. That could be a nice little spot for him going into next year. But he's made himself a legitimate big league option this year, which is really, really nice to see. Considering he was a 19th round pick in 2021. And, last year he didn't really pitch, just 4 2/3 innings last year. But then this year, obviously, he's been really, really good. And just, like I said, made himself into a legitimate big league option for 2026. And heck, who knows? He could still even maybe get a shot in 2025, depending on how things pan out the rest of the way for the Red Sox.
Yeah. I don't have anything on the starters necessarily. Uberstein was kind of the big one, but I wanted to talk about Alex Hoppe, who has really quietly had a pretty phenomenal second half of the year for the Woo Sox. He's basically, if you go back to literally to the All-Star break, to his outing on July 20th. He's only had 3 outings in which he's given up a run. He had one really bad blow up outing where he gave up 3 runs he gave up 5 runs unearned, or 5 runs total, 3 of which were earned runs, and had 3 walks. It was a bad outing, and it was when they were playing out in Iowa. Other than that, he has been really outstanding. He has a 2.33 ERA in the second half of the year, 24 strikeouts in 19 and a third innings with 10 walks. And he just this past week, he had 2 outings, 2 and a third innings, 1 strikeout, 1 walk, no runs, no hits. He has 6 consecutive outings, 6 consecutive scoreless outings going back to August 27th. 10 strikeouts in 7 and 2/3 innings. And also, it's also hitless innings. 6 straight hitless, 6 straight hitless appearances. 10 strikeouts, 4 walks, and 7 and 2/3 innings. I sort of think that we're at the point now where Alex Hoppy's been good enough that you might have to consider that he has entered the possibility of being someone who could get taken in the Rule 5 draft. I don't know that I would have said that earlier this year, but he feels like, to me, especially considering the fact that he can throw 100 miles an hour, he is turning 27 this offseason. So, but I could absolutely see a bottom feeding team deciding to take a shot on Alex Hoppy, considering his age, what he did in AAA this year, the fact that he can throw 100 miles an hour. So Red Sox have to think about that. But he has really upped his game in the second half of this year, and it has borne itself out with all those consecutive scoreless appearances that he will take into this last week of the season.
AJ Politi, Ryan Fernandez, Franklin Herman, I absolutely think Alex Hoppy is an option to get. I don't think he will be here next year if they don't 40-man him, because that's just the relief pitchers, I feel like, are one of the biggest threats to get taken in the Rule 5 draft, because you just stash them. The team can just stash them at the bottom of their bullpen, and you don't have to pitch in high leverage situations. And if it works out, sweet. And if it doesn't, whatever, we cut ties after a month of, hey, this didn't work. And yeah, Alex Hoppy would be very intriguing to teams. Oh, a guy who throws 100 with a sharp slider. There are very clear positives to him that we can make work out. He strikes out a lot of people. The walks have been a pretty big issue for him, but he's been, like you mentioned, so good for the last while now. Like you said, 6 appearances, 7 and 2/3 innings without allowing a run or a hit. And he's really just kind of had those couple blow up outings, and then outside of that, he's been fantastic. On Uberstein, obviously another guy who they have to worry about getting taken in the Rule 40 draft if they don't lock him up onto the 40-man. He's been there. There was that fear of him kind of slowing down. We mentioned it a couple weeks ago, just with easily the most innings he's ever thrown in a minor league season, and he had only thrown 4 and 2/3 innings last year, and he threw 0 innings the year before that. So it was not surprising that he was starting to hit a wall, but he's been really good the last 2 outings. In September, he has thrown 11 innings, 8 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 14 strikeouts. The swing and miss stuff is really good. He's gotten a ton of strikeouts this year. He gets a ton of whiffs. If the Red Sox need a guy, I 100% think he deserves the shot. And then someone who I think would have already made his major league debut if it wasn't for injury, Shane Drohan, just another really good start from him. 5 shutout innings, 2 hits, no walks, 3 strikeouts. He has a 2.08 ERA, a 171 batting average against, and a 0.95 whip in AAA this year. The issue is he's only thrown 39 innings because of injury. 54 strikeouts compared to just 13 walks. Everything's been fantastic for him. The velo's been up. He's still having a little bit of the issue where the velo dips as the game gets later. But it hasn't been as dramatic as it was, 2 years prior. And the drop off on velocity also hasn't really crept in overall. 2 years ago, it was the first few games he was hitting 95, and then all of a sudden he was down to 92. as the season went on, like even at the start of games. That hasn't been as dramatic this year. Now, he also hasn't gotten to pitch much. So it could just be like hey, he got, a month and a half off and then came back and he was refreshed. But still a positive to see him in September, still throwing to almost max capacity for him, and still pitching very well. I'm intrigued to see what happens with him this offseason. A left-handed pitcher already taken in the Rule 5 draft before. But it's upsetting to know that he probably would have made his major league debut this year if it wasn't for that injury, because he's been phenomenal. And at this rate, it doesn't seem like it's going to happen this year, because I do feel like Uberstein would be the name before him. And then Cooper Criswell is healthy? ? Like, I feel like there were talks of him being an option like a week and a half ago, and it was like, oh, so he's healthy, and then I really feel like no one's heard anything about him since then. So if Criswell's healthy, he's also a very clear option. He would leapfrog everyone, because he has been very good for the Red Sox and in the opportunities he's gotten.
The only thing I have on the pitching side is Noah Song made his Worcester debut. About damn time. Yeah. I know it didn't go great, but still. About
Good
damn time.
I do also want to give the shout out. Obviously, it was a couple days ago and was talked about on our other podcasts. But Connolly Early making his major league debut, striking out 11, 5 shutout.
Amazing.
The most strikeouts he's had in a professional game. He hit his career high in the minors in his final AAA start when he struck out 10 batters. He had 19 whiffs, which is the most by any Red Sox pitcher this year, not named Garrett Crochet. Just a ridiculously awesome debut.
Kyle Harrison made his Red Sox debut too.
Kyle Harrison also made his Red Sox debut, good. And he also looked really good. Getting 3 really good innings out of the bullpen. So it was cool to see 2 more options for the Red Sox have really strong team debuts, I guess. What Early was a major league debut, and then Harrison was the team debut. But just the Red Sox have had to scrape and find pitchers in the major leagues this year, because they've had injuries and people just not performing well, people getting DFA'd, and people have been stepping up. We saw Peyton Tolley have that fantastic debut. He struggled a little bit since then. I'm not worried at all about that though. And now we see Connolly Early get this big debut. It's very cool to see these guys show up. Not just like, oh, cool, they had a good major league debut, but like this was a major league debut in September during a playoff race, and Connolly Early went out there and just absolutely shoved. That was awesome.
Yeah. So I think that's pretty much everything.
Well,
so Worcester?
That's everything for Worcester.
Yes. All right. With that now, first time in a while, it feels like we have a Guess the Prospect.
All right. So
score update.
Yeah, we need a score update, because I kind of forget, because we didn't do it last week because we had a long show.
I am winning 7-6.
Okay.
Ooh.
I'm currently looking for my pencil. I have my pen, but I need to do this in pencil.
Hunter could clinch tonight.
Could clinch, or Jake could make next week a tiebreaker. Unless somehow next week would be worth 3 points. No. That's just I would have to pull out something absurd.
Like you haven't done that before?
Yeah, right?
No, even more absurd. It would have to be something even more absurd. Right. Like some guy who hasn't been in the system since 2006, who was peaked in Lowell.
Vern Hansack. No. He pitched in the majors. The Lobster Man.
All right. This is a throwback Guess the Prospect.
Okay.
So someone who has been in the Red Sox system in the history of Sox prospects.
Okay.
So from 2003 onwards. We'll start with this. This prospect peaked at number 2 in the system. And when he peaked at number 2, the number 1 and number 3 prospects were Hanley Ramirez and Dustin Pedroia.
Cool.
Wow.
Kelly Shopik.
No.
Brandon Moss.
Jake got it.
What? I'm not even joking. I pulled that completely out of my ass. That was not the.
I didn't even get to the fun clues.
Throw them out there.
Yeah, let's hear the rest of them.
He's a one-time All-Star.
Brandon Moss, point for me.
No, that's crazy.
Actually, just there are some other like fun notes. Like, so he was an All-Star in 2014 with the A's. That 2014 A's team had Eric Sogard, so somewhat Red Sox ties there. Somewhat Jed Lowry, Yoenis Cespedes, Coco Crisp, Josh Reddick. Who else? Johnny Gomes was on that team. Nick Punto was on that team.
Played in the big leagues for a while.
Yeah.
Who, Brandon Moss?
Yeah.
Yeah. Lester got
11
traded there. Fernando Abad was on the team. A lot of like at one point Red Sox on that A's team.
I went to a Red Sox game. I don't remember if it was 2007 or 2008. Those were the only years he played with the Red Sox, though, so it had to be one of them. Brandon Moss batting practice was insane. Every single swing was like a 750-foot home run. It was absurd to watch. I thought Brandon Moss was so cool just because like I watched him do BP and I was like, all right, this is the guy.
Wow. Technically, 2007 played for the Red Sox, so he got a World Series ring.
Yep.
Part of the trade, the Manny trade.
Yep.
He was one of the pieces that went out with Craig Hansen.
Craig Hansen, right?
Craig Hansen's been discussed a lot because of his quickness to the big leagues in comparison to Peyton Tolley. But yeah, part of that deal was traded by the A's to the Indians for Joey Wendell. So there you go. Yeah, no, I was just like just popped into my head. I'm like, who was like a prospect in that time frame? And so I was, Brandon Moss.
That's what I did too. Kelly Shopping was around that time.
Yeah,
I was just like, that's the first thing that popped into my head.
I just want to read the top 10 from the March 2005 rankings from Sox prospects. Hanley Ramirez, Brandon Moss, Dustin Pedroia, Abe Alvarez, Jonathan Papelbon, John Lester, Anibal Sanchez, Manny Del Carmen, Ian Blattergrone, and Kelly Shopping.
So there's a lot of guys that played in the big
bonkers top 10.
Yeah.
Anibal Sanchez was good, man.
He
had really good year.
Very good. Obviously part of the Josh Beckett trade, but he had a great career for sure.
Yeah.
I got into an argument with a friend one time because I was saying how Hanley Ramirez was technically because he said that he didn't count as a Red Sox player because he never played for the Red Sox. This was when he was like on the Dodgers or something. And I was like, no, he made his major league debut with the Red Sox.
He did.
And this was before like smartphones. So it was one of those things where we argued about it like all night. And then finally, when we got home, I got to look it up and I was like, Hanley Ramirez made his debut with the Red Sox. I was right. I think he played like one game, but
two games, 2 at-bats, struck out both at-bats and then got traded. And then was also part of the Josh Beckett trade in the offseason.
Yep. They came back.
Josh Beckett and Mike
Forrest. Also got a World Series ring, technically, I think.
Hey, you could make the argument he almost deserves one for 07 for getting them Beckett.
Absolutely, 100%. That was a great
Anibal
trade
Sanchez. Yep. Also, to just shout out Anibal Sanchez, like might be the most underrated pitcher.
He threw a no-hitter, right?
Don't know.
He had 2 really close ones in the championship series. He had the game 1 in 2013 against the Red Sox because I was at that game. Where he went 6 no-hit innings, and then Nava broke up the no-hit in the 9th with 1 out in the 9th.
In his 13th major league start, he threw a no-hitter. September 6, 2006, in his 13th major league start, Sanchez pitched a no-hitter against the Arizona Diamondbacks.
And then he had one with the Nats in 2019 against the Cardinals. He went into the 8th inning with a no-hitter. He won. I think he even won the ERA title. I think 1 year with the Tigers. In that like absurd rotation.
That 2013 he was great, and he was finished high in the Cy Young voting that year. I think.
Yeah, I think it was 4th. I think. Yeah.
So
absurd. So yeah, we'll have a tiebreaker against the prospect.
Second year in a row.
Against the
prospect.
I swear we're not doing this on purpose.
No, we're not.
No, we're not. It's not drawing out suspense.
It is also going to be a special episode next week. Will be our 100th minor league episode. So shout out to us. End the season with our 100th minor league episode. We'll have awards, which hopefully voting will go out for them soon after this episode gets posted. Also, one more fun fact on Brandon Moss. We're recording Monday night, tomorrow, the 16th, when you're listening to this, is Brandon Moss's birthday. So happy birthday, Brandon Moss.
Happy birthday, Brandon
How
Moss.
old is he?
42.
Okay.
So happy birthday, Brandon Moss. I think that's a good place. We're going to wrap it up, though. As always, for Jake and Hunter, my name is Derek. Thanks for tuning into the Pesky Report, and we will see you next week.